Hey everybody, it's Talisha over at Dwell Mortgage. Thank you so much for joining me on my AI sprint. Today we are going to go over the use of Chat GPT and also my favorite Perplexity and how we can integrate it into your workflow to maximize your time and effort. So let's get started. There is one little disclaimer before we get rolling. You will have to take a personality test. So in another window, will you please open up 16personalities.com? That's 16personalities.com. There will be a 2.5-minute break that you can go through that. It shouldn't take any more than those 2.5, maybe 3.5, if you really have to think about those questions. And with that, if you are just tuning in for today, you might want to jump out and come back in at a time where you can take those tests so you can integrate your personality 4-letter acronym into our prompt snippets, and then you will see how it customizes your AI bot to sound more like yourself. So that is all the disclaimers that I have for right now. Our agenda today is really about understanding the framework, understanding what a prompt is, and then if you so feel inspired, how people are creating a personal marketing persona and how those can enhance your business and also increase your workflow. Personal marketing personas are different than who you are and how you train your bot to sound like you. This is creating a completely different personality on your behalf. So those are the two key takeaways. Now, when we're talking about the use of AI, there's so many different platforms that you can use. The top ones that a lot of people know, Chat GPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. Sonnet is also another one, but I seem to have forgotten that one on my little slide today. Clearly is not as special in my world. I am a Perplexity lover. I have the Pro plan. It's $20 a month. I know Chat GPT has like the 3.0 and then the 4.0, and the 4.0 is really where you're going to get your maximization in all your tools and its responses. So there's a reason why those actually cost money to use. It also allows you to keep your threads, and it gives you the sources of where the information comes from. So I like to be able to source my information a lot, and it gives you little numbers or links to where it pulls that information from on the web. So if someone questions where you got that stat from or that information, you can always just copy and paste that website and send it over, so then they know that you're not just pulling random thoughts or facts out of your head. So as we deep dive, I want you to understand that the word prompting is really just communicating with your AI bot. When I prompt, text, or tell my bot what to do, I always have this strange little inclination to say please and thank you. Your bot doesn't have feelings. It's a computer. But I always love to say thank you at the end. It makes me feel like I'm not as dictatorish when I'm telling it what to do. Now, when you're prompting, you have to know that your own communication will affect the bot's performance. So if you are not clear, concise, and if you're not willing to tell the bot to rewrite, to add in, subtract, change its tone, include something, or respond to a recipient based on the email you provide them, your bot is going to sound very robotic, and people will be able to smell that a mile away. I saw a Facebook post recently where someone commented, wow, everything is so Chat GPT. And what it brought to my awareness is that people aren't training their bots. They're literally just copy and pasting things and saying to rewrite them. And people can read that a mile away. It has a very distinct language to it, so to speak. So when we get into Chat GPT, if you want to open up a window, that way it'll help you follow along. You'll see your little thread in there. And if you're on Perplexity, it looks very similar as well. The only difference is where your profile tabs are. And you're going to tell Chat GPT exactly who you want it to be. Do you want to be an expert copyright? Do you want to be an expert online marketing writer or ad creator? However you want that to come up with, you want to tell them how it's going to behave. Because if you're rewriting an email, that tone and the delivery of that is going to sound much different than if someone is writing an ad, a blog post, a drip campaign for your CRM. The language all changes even when you train your bot to sound like you, because we all sound different when we're communicating in various different styles. So please make sure that you're telling your bot how it's going to behave, and then tell it to ask any qualifying, we call it clarifying or qualifying questions. So then if it needs more information or it needs more depth to go to, it will ask you to answer, and then it will pull that data and then go back to the web and pull in even more information if it needs to get a thorough response. Now, when we go back and say that it's going to draft emails for us, you can have Chat GPT respond, well, any AI respond to the recipient in the language of the recipient. So if you copy and paste your email from a client and you put that into Chat GPT and ask it to have a response and respond to the recipient, it's going to change the way that it talks, and it'll change the language to match that of the person who wrote you the email. So I am a type like X or a Z personality is what they call it. So I float between an A and a B depending on which daily task that I am in. So when I am in my own personality, I'm like a very laid back B, but in business, I can become very A. And a lot of people know that, like, I am very type A on some things. So when I'm getting another type A personality, I need to make sure that I'm not drafting it as like laid back casual Talisha, because they would like conversation to be in their tone so then they can digest it. Otherwise, it could be misconstrued as not caring or unprofessional, or that I don't give a crap, because I'm not addressing them the way that they hear or process information. So you can use that as a tool as well. So this is a sample scenario on the screen that I had used. And those who know me know that I'm pretty curt, and I lack the skill. I don't know why. It just has never really come in to kind of like soften the edges when something goes on. And I'm like, this is your fault. Like, it's not mine. You failed to do something, and your inaction or lack of action is the reason why we're in this spot. I had to put this sample scenario into my Perplexity and then have them rewrite the response to the email. So then it would sound less rude, I guess I would put that. Very less rude, more professional, and then put them back in the accountability seat without them throwing up the defense, because that can come up too. So here's our little fun sample scenario. I had them write a professional and also tactful email to my client who didn't turn in their paperwork on time. Because they didn't turn it in, we couldn't get it to processing. Processing didn't get it in time, and then it delayed our timeline. And then they were wondering why we were behind. Well, per our email on blah, 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 we've asked you for these items. It's been 7 days and I haven't received them yet. That's why we're not on time. So I had to rewrite an email to my client and let them know that the reason why there's a delay is because they hadn't gotten us everything that we needed. You can do the same in all sorts of emails between working colleagues and clients, all sorts of people. And I suggest try it. Try it and like read the draft before you send it. And you can always change the tone in which it's delivered. And you can delete, different lines or paragraphs, or you can highlight them, put them back in the thread and ask them to rewrite it. That way it sounds more authentic to yourself, because those are your words that you have to send. So remember, make sure you always check it, and it always sits really good with you before you send it, because it is your reputation on the line. So when you send out, like I said, when you send out these emails or whatever you're sending, always fine tune. All AI is really linear, so it doesn't stray like our human brains do. And you need it to kind of go off of the straight line and curtail a little bit either in its tone, its deliverance, its personality, and things like that. You can include some background stories to that information so then it can pull up more relevant data. And when we get to the personalization of it, it will start pulling in relevant information about yourself. So then it becomes very more, how do I say that? It really emulates who you are as a person, which, excuse me, I love a lot. And when we're building out these prompts, both the platforms will take them to the side of the screen and the threads will come up. Now in Perplexity, on my paid version, they stay. When I was using the free version and I was like just using it online, they just disappear. And I don't know about you, but when I invest my time in something, because I'm also ADHD, I don't want to keep redoing something over and over again. I will find that it becomes too annoying, too cumbersome. I don't like to repeat my actions over and over again. It's frustrating to me. So I like to keep my threads, and I have threads from the very beginning of my use of Perplexity. And I actually can go back through and kind of giggle about how I've evolved as a professional, but also a person, because you can see my tone change on how I even talk to my bot and how I want things delivered. So it can become like this really cool archive of you growing professionally and personally on how your communicating style evolves as you use these sorts of tools. I like that. So when you're creating your prompt, this is an example of how you want your prompt to lay out. Please create a prompt for me to use using blah, 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 what kind of expert it should behave as, the background to the task it's creating, and then ask any questions that you have for it, and then add the text to the end of your prompt, which is ask me any clarifying questions. So say you want your bot to become an expert marketing writer, and you are going to draft an ad for the demographics of senior citizens who are aging out of their homes and going into assisted living. You would want to include that as your relevant background information to their marketing expertise. So you are a professional online marketer. The demographic is people from 65 to 75 who are looking to sell their home because they're downsizing or going into assisted living, or they're going into those 55 and up communities. And then ask it to craft you whatever you are asking for, whether it's a flyer, it's a letter, it's a Facebook post, it's an ad campaign, anything like that. Make sure you tell it exactly what you want from it. And then if it needs any further questions, ask any further questions in order to get all relevant data to complete the task. And it will give it to you. And please excuse my little typo on there. It's supposed to say, help me brainstorm new email marketing campaign, not help me. But I clearly overlooked that on the 10 times that I've checked out my slide. So excuse that, but I actually like that. So help me move on. So on your next steps, once you get your data from, your prompt back from Chat GPT, what you can do is you can highlight the response and you can then respond to it. Please remove this, please remove that. You can put it in parentheses, and please edit this section to sound more laid back, more professional. Please remove this line and insert new data from wherever you come up with, or whatever information that you want. And then make sure that you also check the whole tone of your email or whatever you're drafting. So if it doesn't all match the tone that you want delivered, make sure that you then highlight all the things that have been changed, stick it back through, and then tell it to match the tone throughout, to be professional, to be laid back, to be casual, however you want that to come across. And here are some little examples of like the refined outputs that you can put. You can modify your tone. If you're making a marketing I guess, persona, or you're making like an expert marketer and they're putting an ad on and you want someone to sign up for, say, a drip campaign or drip email, then you can take that, whatever ad they're creating or blog post that they're creating, and once they craft it, you can then create a drip campaign for email or SMS, however you want that delivered, and it will take that and then put that in, and it'll drop the framework out, so you can just copy and paste it into your CRM to draft email campaigns that take less than 5 minutes instead of days putting, typed out, checking for typos, making sure it all sounds right, Googling what sounds good or whatever. It will make the tone all the same. So then when they get them, everything that's coming from you is very consistent. I don't know about you, but when I was in real estate full time, I really struggled on that consistency, because you get busy and then you forget and then you drop the ball on things and then you fall down a little bit and then you have to play catch up, and then it just ends up in like burnout year over year. So I like these because you can free up a lot of your time and so much more of your brain space by having these things set and then already working in the background. So in order to get your bot to sound very much like yourself, everyone needs to log into whatever AI they've been using. If you have Chat GPT, then your little profile will be up in the right. If you use Perplexity or you're interested in starting Perplexity, then your little profile will be at the bottom. They're very similar in that you both go in to your little icons, you go into your profiles, and then there's like a little bio that you can put in there. And then there's like little drop down questions, and you can ask it to ask you more questions. So then you get to shine as your real authentic personality. So on my profile, it's very much, I like hiking. I love food. I'm not a super great like 5-star chef, but I love food. I love to make all sorts of weird food. I love to feed people, and I put that in there. I love to go hiking. I love my sheep. I love my dogs. I have 4 boys. Like, we live on a farm in Arlington. I do all of these little things. My favorite hiking trail is Boulder River, mostly because it's really flat. And then that I'm a mortgage professional. So then it comes out who I am. Like, I also love coffee. Unicorns are my favorite, like, mystical animal. I really love glitter and anything holographic. Like, I loved like mom-based romance novels. So like when I'm sending out personal stuff, then you kind of get a gist of who I am at my core, and AI starts to behave like that. So when you get into these accounts, make sure that your profile is really who you are, and that all those prompting questions get thoughtfully answered, so then your bot can behave exactly or similar to yourself. Now, if you choose to, save your $20 and your customization button is off, then Chat GPT will have to relearn who you are every time you use it, because there's no background framework on you. So, I mean, if you love to be redundant and repeat yourself over and over again, then sure, turn off all your customization, use the free trials. But if you really want to integrate AI into your life, like, invest the $20 a month. Like, you're not going to be disappointed as long as you leverage it. And I don't know about you, but creating redundancies like that over $20, I'd rather just not have coffee for 2 days, If you don't know what Chat GPT or Perplexity or any other AI could do for you, here's some really good examples of things that we haven't talked about yet. Product descriptions. I think they would be more like your listing descriptions in your houses. Drafting reports. You can have Chat GPT like take infographics, you can upload them as an attached document, and then it can draft a report for you that could be easier to digest. Not everyone understands our days on market pending or things like that. So you can upload all of those and then have it smushed into one really great presentation or data that then you can just customize yourself. You can also put your information to create a presentation in there. So if you wanted to, if you didn't want to use like Cloud CMA or something like that, you could upload all of your information by attaching documents into Chat GPT for a CMA, and then it will populate the entire report that you could just put into Canva. If you need ideas, pop buys, content creation, drip campaign ideas, letters to send, farming, demographics, If you're trying to get somewhere in your life, and by getting somewhere, I mean enhancing the version of you so it becomes something else, you can always tell your AI bots that this is the life that you currently lead. Lay out every day your daily tasks, how you feel, where your budgeting is at, your income, and then tell it that you really want to enhance your life by experiencing this. I want espresso every day. I want to have, $500,000 in the bank. I want to pay off my debt. This is their current debt load. I would like to have 5 vacations to the Maldives. We have 6 people in our family. Like, give me tasks that I have to do in my business 5 days a week that take less than 5 minutes a task that will help me get to the version of myself that I want to go. It's been all over social media this last year of people creating like their ideal life using Chat GPT. And it's really true. It works. I've used it before, and I do integrate the tasks that they've given me into my daily work schedule. And it comes out with some really great stuff and stuff that I never even really thought about. So it's always fun doing that. We've done summarizing documents as well. So everyone's like, oh, if you use, AI, they're going to steal your data. Nothing's happened to me. I can't say that something wouldn't happen, but we have data breaches on every sort of login my banking has been breached. My Uber was just breached this weekend. But I've never had Perplexity or Chat GPT. None of my passwords have ever been compromised. So I don't think that I would use it just on the free version, but definitely in a locked profile behind your password, I feel very confident doing it. We recently had it's not a bet, but it was a challenge. And we had to upload our current credit card statements into Perplexity. We had them scan our documents, and then we had it break down the amount of money that we could save by paying off X, Y, and Z. And then we had to reinvest it into our business. That was really fun because it showed me that most of my spending, even on credit cards, was always food related. So I'm like, oh, maybe I do have a food problem. But anyways, that was just a fun little activity that you can do with it as well. So when using AI, it's not going to replace you and it's not going to take over your life, but it can definitely amplify who you are as a person. It can help build out things that will increase your reach, which will then increase the amount of conversations you have with people that you probably don't know, or even the ones you do, which will increase your income. So if you use it as an extension of yourself, not in fear that it's going to replace you, then you will find so much more value in it and you will lean on it. And then you'll be like me and you'll be able to maximize it and probably teach people the same and really enjoy all the benefits of having a little AI bot. I even have it on my phone connected to you. So before we get into personalizing your response, this is where there's going to be a 2.5-minute break. So I'm going to jump off. You guys are going to log in to 16personalities.com. If you've done it already and you have your 4-letter code, super great. Go pee, grab a coffee. And then when we come back, we will be personalizing our AI response based on your personality test. So we will be back momentarily. I hope you guys learned something really great about yourself or really enjoyed that. If you haven't finished yet, don't even sweat it. There's nothing that you can't just click through a couple more buttons before we start like setting up the promptings on that. So I've taken that personality test twice. At first, I came out as the adventurer, and then I came out 2.5 years later as like the ENTP, which is more like empathetic. I do find myself being a little bit of a sensitive little Sally on the inside, but I just kind of buffer it with a little crassness so people don't touch my feelings as much. So if you finished your test and you have your 4-letter code, this is what you're going to set in your Chat GPT prompt, not in your profile, but in a prompt. So you're going to open it up, whatever AI you're using. I just took the Myers-Briggs personality test. This is the personality I have. I know what my DISC profile is. I've taken it. I've taken it multiple times, and it's always a high D, always a high I. S and C are always like, boop, in the toilet. Excuse me. And I also have ADHD inattentive, which means that I jump from thought to thought to thought. These things will help Chat GPT or Perplexity conversate like you. So I call it like my little avalanche. So when I'm conversating, sometimes I take something and I like avalanche with it, or what they call is like dolphining. So I take an idea and I go underwater, and then I pop up way over here and I connect the two pieces. That comes out in my communication, whether it's an email, text message, drip campaigns. Like I have a lot of ideas that get thrown up, and I like that part of me. So I don't try to hide behind the veil of like, oh, I'm perfect, my brain is great. No, I have a lot of ideas and I want to share them with you. So put yours in there and put that in there. And then on the next line, don't hit enter yet, click type out, I want a prompt snippet that tells GPT how to write in my tone and style based on my personality type. Make it short to the point and only include necessary information. So what it's going to do is it's going to scour the internet and the Myers-Briggs test for your personality and anything else that you tell itself about you. And then it's going to create a draft of a type of tone or a paragraph with that tone in which it takes from the personality test. So with mine, being an empathic person, sometimes it can be really sensitive, and I need to ask it to be, I'll ask my bot to be more professional or more humorous or more lighthearted, because not everything needs to be emotional. And then with that, it's going to take all of that and it's going to spit you out a framework. And whatever it responds, I want you to carefully read through the response that it gives you. And then I want you to spend time, and it will be off this webinar. And I want you to, and I call it swatting. I want you to direct your bot gently, or however you want it to be, through, please include a tone of casual professionalism. Please include things about me and give it some background information. You can also take copies of your social media posts, copies of your emails. Please read the tone and the communication of this email and include this style in my prompt snippet. So once you have that on that one thread, then on a completely next line, you can put, you are now an expert copywriter. I am an ENTP, and And I prefer direct, concise writing with a touch of humor. Please write in this style to keep the message clear and engaging. So then you have that. So then it tells it exactly, one, it gives you an outline of what it's going to sound like. And then you tell it exactly how it's going to behave and how you want it to be. And then you just keep reading it. And it might take you about 2.5 to maybe 5 minutes, depending on how detailed you want it to be. And remember, your idea of you is kind of like, we think we're something and then we read something and then we go, yeah, that's totally me. Or we read it and they go, there's no way, but it actually is how you sound, and you might just be blind to it. So please just keep that also playing in your mind. Like, is this really how I sound, or is this really how I want to sound? And you can change it based on how it makes you feel. Don't stop changing or kind of moving through that until you get to a point where that prompt snippet comes out and you read it and you go, yeah, that really does sound like me. Because remember, this is your personality, this is your reputation, and this is your communication. You want to be really invested on that backside of it, so then you can use the tool and feel comfortable when you're doing it. So this is your adjusting your prompts, and then just continually incorporate different things about you until you're ready to go. And then that final prompt, you will copy and paste in a new thread and save it. So keep that thread up there. So when you're down, like I said, all the way down, and it gets that prompt, that one that you're like, yes, this sounds so much like me, copy and paste that bad boy and stick it in a new thread. So then you don't lose it. And then you just literally can keep that prompt of who you are and the tone and keep that in your catalog. So then now that your bot is beautiful and it sounds just like you, Teresa, and you're happy with it and you feel confident that you're going to integrate it into your workflow every day because you are tired of spending 20 minutes rewriting emails when Carl hasn't done what he was supposed to and you're frustrated, you can actually just copy and paste it. Please create a response to this email using the prompt snippet above, blah, blah, blah. And then it spits it out, copy, paste, read through and go, yeah, that's exactly how I wanted that said. Bloop. And then you can send it. It also, when I do things like that, it keeps me from getting so emotionally tied to reactions of other people that it doesn't ruin my day nearly as much as other conversations have. So I like that because I don't want to ruin my days anymore over other people having like emotional throw-ups. So when you're doing that and you're creating more of these prompts. So remember, AI does 85 other things for you outside of just responding to emails. It will create blog posts, drip campaigns, your ads. Keep it all how you want it. It's how you want it, not how it is, how you want it. And remember that every time you get a prompt, you can always customize it a little bit more. Whether it's about the demographic you're doing or the tone in which you want it delivered, because not every day you sound the exact same way. When I read social media, it's like up, down, all around. People are having great days, they're terrible days, they're celebrating victories, they're sharing their losses. Like there's a little bit of everything in there. And you can also use Chat GPT that if you want to really streamline your business, like we do over at Dwell, we have these things called evergreen videos where we've recorded them last year. And it's like, congratulations, your loan has been approved. I don't have to send that out 100 times or create it 100 times. I've created it once using the framework that I put into Chat GPT, put it on a teleprompter app, recorded it, and then saved it in my CRM. So now it's done. All I have to do is hit send. So it saves a lot of time. And then also it goes back to, you can change the tone to match the recipient, like we've discussed already. Now, we've done us and all the things that we want it to do. Now we can generate a completely different persona that is either an extension of you, a version of you that is not quite here, or a completely different version that you're like, oh my gosh, I love that. I could never be that, but I love to use that. If you find that someone either on social media or however you stumble across them has a type of marketing that you really love, you can take all those examples and create the marketing persona in Chat GPT or Perplexity. So what you would do is take examples, you would take snippets, you would take YouTube videos, you would take the person's name, you can attach all the documents. And what you want it to do is to create a marketing persona based on the information that you've given it with the tones in which you want it to be delivered. It will ask clarifying questions on what you want accomplished with that, and then marketing solutions for different platforms and different purposes. So you can ask it to come up with social media posts, Instagram posts, LinkedIn blogs, because we all know everything is completely different throughout those platforms. You can cross them, but LinkedIn people don't care that your dog has, a crown on, but Instagram people might love that photo. And when you're on Facebook, people might want to read more than they want to just see the dog with a crown photo, but want to know that you've spent the last 5 years with your rescue dog and everyone loves him and he's been such a joy to your life. So you can tell your marketing persona that you want these ideas in a LinkedIn blog post, an Instagram reel script, and a Facebook post. That way, all you have to do is copy into the platforms or create your reel, whether it's a video or a bunch of photos on a carousel, and then upload it. It saves so much time. And these are the things, how you can get it done. Content messaging, visual elements. If you really, really want to get deep into AI, it will be really noticeable, but you could also use Chat GPT, Perplexity. They have other AI generated softwares nowadays where you can put in a bunch of information. I want a photo of 2 elderly people with their dog in an assisted living facility, happy that their home sold, so now they don't have to do yard work. That is a very deep example. However, it would come up with something on the internet where it would stitch together an image using the computer software of something similar. Now, I've never had an accurate AI image in some of the platforms I use. It's always really weird. But if you want to get savvy with it, I'm sure that there are opportunities to learn. And here's another one for social media posts. Be really specific. So if you want a Facebook post, make sure that you're clear on the audience in which you plan on targeting, because the language, the verbiage, and then if you're going to do an ad spend on it, make sure that you're telling your marketing persona very clearly on what your target audience is, because otherwise you are just wasting your time and doing the shotgun effect. And then you could actually have some resistance to that, because an audience might grab onto it and it not be relevant at all. And they go, what are you doing? And you could come across as really out of touch. So again, AI isn't really intuitive, but it does what you want it to do. So make sure that you are very clear on your directions that you give your AI bot. We've already gone over email campaigns, but your persona can do that too. So if you're doing drip campaigns and you're trying to recruit, you could create a whole different marketing persona. Whether you're a team leader or if you're looking for cold calls or something like that, you could totally have a marketing persona, and you could even name her or him, however you want it. Marketing director, marketing advertiser, however you want, because it's a persona. Facebook messages, you can always put them in a thread, copy and paste them. You can have your bot in, oh my gosh, I just blanked. Facebook Messenger also has bot access in there. They do in some of your business pages. They have the opportunity that if someone asks a question, you can put your messages in there. Sometimes I save sample messages in a note. So if I'm running an ad, I literally put the reply in my phone and then just put it on Facebook Messenger when it comes out. Flyer design. I haven't used it for flyer design at all, but I know a lot of real estate agents who have. I don't have a need for flyers being in mortgage. Everything in my world is digital. So for me, I have an executive assistant who I use Perplexity with, come up with my ideas, send my ideas, and tell her to put all of my visuals together. The same could be used for you. You could do a request, and then you could do, instead of the visual, you could do the outlines of it, and that would be the same for a blog post. And then logo creation is really one of the last. It's similar to image creation. It doesn't listen super great because our creative brains can see it, but we have a hard time directing something or someone to see the same thing as us. So be mindful when you're using it for digital design. There are softwares out there that create logos like Canva and stuff like that, or freelogo.com or whatever, and they use kind of intuitive pre-created things on the internet. But you could, if you really wanted to, you could use AI for logo creation. So that was a lot. It was more like a shotgun blast, or like drinking from a fire hose, really. I've taken up 40 minutes of your time, and I can't thank you enough for spending a little bit of your time with me learning AI. If you have follow-up questions, or you want a more one-on-one opportunity to get to know your AI bot and how to train it, you are more than welcome to send me a text message or an email. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram. I am around all over the place, and I'm very easy to get in touch with. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I love it every day. And I look forward to seeing you on our next class, which is LinkedIn and how we can integrate AI into our LinkedIn. Have a great day, guys.